You're barren, Ava. A useless wife who can't bear my child, Ethan Caldwell sneered, his words crushing Ava Collins, a radiant black woman whose gentle soul once held their home together. 5 years later, a helicopter's roar shattered Ethan's opulent Santa Barbara wedding to Sophia, Ava's betraying best friend. Ava emerged resplendent in a fiery red gown with four quadruplets, two boys, two girls, whose existence defied Ethan's cruel judgment. Her breathtaking arrival hinted at a triumph so grand it left 200 guests speechless. But how did she rise from heartbreak to such dazzling heights? This saga of betrayal, resilience, and a family reborn through love will grip you until its heartwarming end. What empire did Ava build from her pain? Uncover her journey, subscribe, share where you're watching from, and let us know what time it is there. You're barren, Ava, a useless wife who can't bear my child. Ethan Caldwell's voice cut through the air like a blade, each word dripping with disdain. Ava Collins stood frozen in the sleek, marble-floored kitchen of their Manhattan penthouse, her trembling hands clutching the edge of the counter. The dim glow of the chandelier cast her shadow across the floor, a silhouette of a woman unraveling. Her dark skin, radiant even under the weight of despair, glistened with unshed tears as she stared into Ethan's cold gray eyes. At 23, Ava had been the gentle heart of their marriage, her intelligence and warmth a quiet strength. But now Ethan's accusation, barren, useless, shattered the fragile world she'd built with him over 3 years of trying, hoping, and enduring the silent agony of her infertility. The city skyline glittered beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, a mocking contrast to the darkness swallowing her heart. Ava's breath hitched as she tried to speak, but no words came. Ethan, towering at 35 with his tailored suit and salt and pepper charm, didn't wait for her response. "I've found someone else," he continued, his tone as casual as if discussing a business deal. "Sophia makes me feel alive. She's young, vibrant, everything you're not." Sophia. The name was a dagger. Sophia Bennett, Ava's best friend since college. The woman who'd held her hand through every doctor's visit, every negative test, every tearful night. Sophia, with her golden hair and effortless charm, who'd whispered words of comfort while secretly plotting to steal Ava's life. Ava's knees buckled, but she gripped the counter harder, her nails digging into the cool marble. "Sophia," she whispered, her voice barely audible, as if saying the name aloud would make the betrayal real. Ethan's lips curled into a faint smirk, devoid of remorse. "She's everything you can't be, Ava. Pack your things. I want you out by morning." The words landed like a physical blow, knocking the air from her lungs. She stood there stunned as Ethan turned and walked away, his polished shoes clicking against the floor, leaving her alone with the ruins of their love. 5 years later, Ava Collins stood before a full-length mirror in her Malibu mansion, a different woman gazing back. At 28, her beauty was undeniable. Her rich, ebony skin glowed under the soft morning light, her almond-shaped eyes sharp with a hard-earned confidence. Her hair, once kept in a simple braid, now cascaded in elegant curls, framing a face that radiated strength and grace. The emerald green dress she wore hugged her curves, a bespoke creation from her own fashion empire, Collins Couture. She adjusted the diamond earrings that sparkled like stars, each one a testament to her triumph over the pain that once threatened to break her. "Mommy, are we really going to see Daddy today?" Lily's small voice broke the silence, her curious eyes peering up from the plush cream rug where she sat with her siblings. Ava turned, her heart swelling at the sight of her quadruplets, Lily, Emma, Noah, and Finn. At 4 years old, they were a whirlwind of energy and brilliance, their faces a striking blend of Ava's deep complexion and Ethan's piercing blue eyes. Lily, the eldest by minutes, clutched a stuffed bunny, her serious expression a mirror of Ava's own resolve. Emma, ever the dreamer, doodled on a sketchpad, her curls bouncing as she hummed. Noah, the quiet thinker, stacked blocks with precision, while Finn, the adventurer, pretended his toy plane was soaring through the skies. "Yes, sweetheart," Ava replied, her voice steady despite the storm brewing in her chest. "Today, you'll meet your father." She knelt beside them, gathering all four into her arms, their warmth grounding her. But we stay together, okay? Just like we practiced. The children nodded in unison, their blue eyes wide with trust. We hold hands, Emma said softly. And don't talk to strangers, Noah added, his tone serious. We stay close to you, Mommy, Finn and Lily chorused, their voices a harmony of determination. Ava's heart ached with pride and protection. These children, born against all odds after years of being told her body was broken, were her reason for everything. She had raised them alone, with no help from Ethan, who didn't even know they existed. But today that would change. Today she would walk into his world, not as the broken woman he discarded, but as Ava Collins, the billionaire founder of Collins Couture, a global beacon of sustainable fashion. Her phone buzzed on the vanity, a text from Ryan Mitchell, her business partner and confidant. The helicopter is ready. You sure about this? Ava's fingers hovered over the screen before typing back. 5 years of silence ends today. Ryan, a steady presence who'd helped her build her empire and loved her children as his own, had been her rock. Beside him stood James Harper, the retired fashion mogul who'd seen her potential when she had nothing but a sewing machine and a dream. Together, they'd turned her pain into power. Miss Ava, her assistant's voice called from downstairs. The chopper's here. Ava smiled, a flicker of defiance in her eyes. The Sikorsky S-76, painted in shimmering gold and worth $50 million, was her first extravagant purchase after Collins Couture went global. It wasn't just a vehicle. It was a symbol of everything she'd achieved since Ethan called her worthless. She rose, smoothing her dress, and took a final look in the mirror. The woman staring back wasn't the naive 23-year-old who'd crumbled under betrayal. She was a force, a mother, a queen ready to reclaim her narrative. As she gathered her children, their matching white outfits, miniature versions of her sustainable designs, sparkled in the sunlight. They were her army, her legacy, their blue eyes a reminder of the man who'd underestimated her. Ava's heart raced, not with fear, but with anticipation. Ethan's wedding to Sophia was about to become a stage for her truth. She could almost hear the gasps of the guests, the shattering of Ethan's carefully curated world when he saw his children for the first time. The betrayal still stung. Sophia's duplicity, her false tears during Ava's darkest moments, her calculated theft of Ethan's heart. But Ava wasn't here for revenge. She was here for her children, for the truth, for the life she'd built from ashes. The helicopter waited outside, its blades slicing through the morning air, ready to carry her to Santa Barbara. As she led her quadruplets to the door, their small hands clasped in hers, Ava felt the weight of 5 years lift. Today, Ethan would see what he'd lost. Today, the world would see who Ava Collins had become. If this story stirs your heart, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and share where you're watching from. What time is it there? Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens when Ava's helicopter touches down. Her journey from heartbreak to triumph is just beginning, and it's a tale that will keep you hooked until the very last moment. The fluorescent lights of a Los Angeles gas station bathroom flickered as Ava Collins sat on the cold, tiled floor, clutching a positive pregnancy test. It was February 14, 2018, 6 days after Ethan Caldwell had thrown her out of their Manhattan penthouse, branding her barren and useless. Her hands trembled not from joy, but from terror. Ava, a radiant black woman whose gentle spirit had once filled their home with warmth, was now homeless, her belongings stuffed into a battered suitcase in the trunk of her rusted Honda Civic. The city's hum vibrated through the thin walls, a cruel reminder of the life she'd lost. At 23, she was alone, penniless, and pregnant with not one, but 4 babies, quadruplets, a miracle that defied every doctor's prognosis about her infertility. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "How am I going to keep you alive?" Ava's fingers traced the faint lines on the test, her mind racing. The irony was bitter. Ethan's cruel dismissal had come just as life stirred within her. She'd planned to tell him that night, to share the hope that had kept her going through years of failed treatments and whispered prayers. But his betrayal, coupled with Sophia Bennett's treachery, her best friend who'd feigned sympathy while stealing her fiancé, had left Ava with nothing but this fragile promise of motherhood. She pulled herself up, her reflection in the cracked mirror showing a woman on the edge, her dark eyes hollow but resolute. She would not break. Not for Ethan, not for Sophia, not for the world that had turned its back on her. For weeks, Ava survived on sheer will. She parked her Honda in hospital lots, the only places that felt safe under the city's unforgiving sprawl. One meal a day, cheap diner sandwiches or stale vending machine snacks, kept her going, every bite rationed to ensure her babies had enough. Prenatal vitamins, bought with scavenged change, were her only luxury. The pregnancy was high risk, her body strained by the weight of 4 lives. Doctors at a charity clinic warned her of the dangers: premature labor, complications, the slim chance of all 4 surviving. Yet Ava clung to hope, stitching together second-hand baby clothes in the dim glow of streetlights, her fingers bleeding from the needle's bite. Each stitch was a vow. Her children would know love, even if she had nothing else to give. It was on March 10, 2018 that fate intervened. Ava collapsed outside a public library in Santa Monica, her body weakened by malnutrition and dehydration. Her vision blurred as a kind voice broke through the haze. "Miss, are you all right?" James Harper, a silver-haired man in his 60s, knelt beside her, his tailored coat out of place in the gritty scene. A retired fashion mogul who'd once dressed Hollywood's elite, James saw something in Ava's weary eyes, a spark of defiance, a raw talent waiting to be unleashed. He took her to a hospital, then to his sprawling home in Pacific Palisades, offering her a guest room and a chance to rebuild. "You're not alone anymore," he said, his voice steady with conviction. For the first time in weeks, Ava cried, not from despair, but from gratitude. Under James's roof, Ava found stability. Her pregnancy progressed, each ultrasound revealing 4 tiny heartbeats, each one a miracle. At a prenatal appointment in April, the technician's stunned silence gave way to a doctor's confirmation. Quadruplets, all healthy. Ava's heart soared, but the risks loomed large. Bed rest became her reality. 4 months of immobility in a hospital charity ward. Her only visitors James and his stories of the fashion world. She sketched designs on napkins, flowing dresses made from recycled fabrics, bold patterns inspired by her African heritage. These weren't just clothes. They were her rebellion against the world that had called her broken. James saw her sketches and smiled. "You're a visionary, Ava. Let's build something extraordinary." By August 20th, 2018, Ava's world changed forever. Labor came early, at 28 weeks, in the hospital parking lot where she'd once lived in her car. The pain was relentless, but Ava's determination was fiercer. She pressed the emergency button James had insisted she install, and a team of nurses rushed her to delivery. Within 20 minutes, 4 tiny lives emerged. Lily, serious and soulful; Emma, a dreamer with a radiant smile; Noah, thoughtful and precise; Finn, bold and fearless. Each weighed barely 2 pounds, their translucent skin a fragile promise of survival. Ava spent 12 weeks in the NICU, sleeping in waiting room chairs, her heart tethered to the incubators where her babies fought for life. She whispered their names like a mantra, her love a shield against the fear that threatened to consume her. During those long nights, Ava's vision took shape. The hospital's outdated systems, chaotic staff handovers, inefficient supply chains, inspired her to design sustainable uniforms for medical workers, made from eco-friendly materials. She sketched relentlessly, her hands moving as if possessed, turning her pain into purpose. James, seeing her brilliance, invested his savings into her idea. "This is your moment, Ava," he told her. By the time the quadruplets came home, Ava had a prototype, a line of scrubs that combined style, sustainability, and functionality. The hospital, impressed by her designs, became her first client, slashing costs and boosting staff morale. "That's impossible," Sophia shrieked, her voice piercing the air, mascara beginning to streak as panic set in. "You said she was barren, Ethan. You said she couldn't give you children." Ethan's gaze darted between Ava and the quadruplets, his mind grappling with the impossible. I was wrong," he stammered, his voice barely audible, the weight of his past words crushing him. Ava's lips curved into a faint, bittersweet smile. You were wrong about a lot of things, she said, placing protective hands on Lily and Noah's shoulders. But I didn't come here to prove you wrong. I came so your children could know their father. The officiant, a silver-haired man accustomed to routine ceremonies, cleared his throat nervously. Perhaps we should pause, he began, but Sophia cut him off, her voice rising to a fever pitch. This is my wedding. She's ruining it with her lies. She lunged forward, her elaborate gown tangling as she pointed a manicured finger at Ava. Get her out. Call security. But the guards remained rooted, transfixed by the drama unfolding. The guests, too, were captivated, their phones recording every word. Chalker Caldwell, wedding already trending as videos spread like wildfire. Ava remained unshaken, her poise a stark contrast to Sophia's unraveling. Lies? She said softly, pulling a manila envelope from her clutch. Here's the DNA test, dated the day they were born. 99.9% probability of paternity. Would you like to see the medical records too? They show I conceived 2 weeks before you threw me out, Ethan. She held up a single sheet, its official letterhead glinting in the sunlight, silencing Sophia's protests. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, a collective realization dawning. Ava hadn't just survived Ethan's betrayal, she'd transcended it. Eleanor Caldwell, Ethan's mother, rose from the front row, her elegant frame trembling with emotion. At 65, she'd never forgiven her son for abandoning Ava, the daughter-in-law she'd loved like her own. Ava, my dear, she said, her voice breaking as she approached the children. Are these my grandchildren? Ava's expression softened, the only crack in her armor. Yes, Eleanor, these are your grandchildren. Lily, Emma, Noah, and Finn. The quadruplets, sensing the moment's weight, chorused, Hello, Grandmother Eleanor. Their voices polite but unwavering, a testament to Ava's impeccable upbringing. Sophia's desperation boiled over. This is a setup, she screamed, her veil slipping as she pointed wildly at Ava. You planned this to ruin my day. But the guests weren't looking at Sophia anymore. Their eyes were fixed on Ava and her children, a vision of resilience and truth. The golden helicopter gleamed behind them, a symbol of Ava's ascent from the ashes of betrayal. She wasn't the broken woman Ethan had discarded. She was a queen, her empire built on her own terms, her children a living defiance of his cruel verdict. Ethan, still at the altar, stared at his children, their blue eyes mirroring his own. They're mine, he whispered, wonder creeping into his voice. And they're extraordinary, Ava replied, her tone firm but not unkind. They didn't need you to thrive, but they deserve to know you, if you're ready to be their father. The challenge hung in the air, a gauntlet thrown at Ethan's feet. The wedding, meant to be Sophia's triumph, had become Ava's stage, her truth reshaping the narrative in a single, unforgettable moment. If this story grips your heart, hit that subscribe button, share where you're watching from, and tell us what time it is there. Ava's journey is far from over, and you won't want to miss what happens next in this tale of redemption and love. The Santa Barbara air hung thick with tension as Ava Collins stood resolute beside her golden helicopter. Her 4 quadruplets, Lily, Emma, Noah, and Finn, lined up like sentinels in their pristine white Collins couture outfits. The Casa del Mar Resort's manicured lawn, moments ago a stage for Ethan Caldwell and Sophia Bennett's lavish wedding, now felt like a courtroom, with 200 guests as jurors and Ava as the unflinching prosecutor. Her fiery red gown, a masterpiece of her own sustainable design, caught the afternoon sun, casting her as a beacon of defiance against the backdrop of scattered rose petals and abandoned chandeliers. Ethan, still at the altar, stood frozen, his gray eyes locked on the children whose existence shattered his world. Sophia, her $60,000 gown now a crumpled mockery of her perfect day, trembled with rage, her golden hair disheveled as she glared at Ava. This is a lie, Sophia's voice cracked, shrill and desperate, cutting through the murmurs of the crowd. You're a fraud, Ava. You planned this to destroy me. Her accusation echoed across the lawn, but Ava's expression remained serene, her dark eyes unyielding. She held up the manila envelope, its contents a ticking bomb. Lies, Sophia? she said, her voice calm but razor-sharp, slicing through the chaos. "This is a DNA test, dated August 20th, 2018, the day my children were born. It confirms Ethan as their father with 99.9% certainty. Shall I show you the medical records too? They prove I conceived 2 weeks before Ethan threw me out, calling me barren." The crowd gasped, phones raised to capture the moment. Just Caldwell wedding trending with a narrative Sophia could no longer control. Ethan's face was a mask of shock, his salt and pepper hair glinting as he stumbled forward, his polished demeanor crumbling. "Ava, I didn't know," he stammered, his voice barely audible over the rustling leaves and clicking cameras. "Didn't know?" Ava's tone was steady, but her eyes burned with 5 years of suppressed pain. "You didn't know because you chose not to. You called me useless, Ethan, and left me with nothing but a suitcase and a broken heart. But these children," she gestured to Lily, Emma, Noah, and Finn, their blue eyes watching with innocent curiosity. "They're proof you were wrong about everything." Sophia lunged toward Ava, her manicured nails flashing like claws. But Ryan Mitchell, Ava's business partner, stepped forward, his broad frame a quiet shield. "Enough, Sophia," he said, his voice low but firm, his brown eyes hard with protective resolve. Ryan, in his tailored navy suit, had been Ava's rock, helping her build Collins Couture into a billion-dollar empire. Beside him stood James Harper, the silver-haired fashion mogul who'd given Ava a lifeline when she had nothing. "This isn't about you anymore," James said, his voice carrying the weight of a man who'd seen empires rise and fall. "Ava's story deserves to be heard." James turned to the crowd, his presence commanding attention. 5 years ago, this woman was homeless, pregnant with quadruplets, abandoned by the man standing at that altar, and betrayed by the woman in that gown. She lived in her car, ate scraps, and fought for her baby's survival. Yet from that despair, she built Collins Couture, a global fashion empire that's redefined sustainable luxury. The guests leaned forward, captivated as James continued. "Her designs dress Oscar winners and nurses alike, generating billions while saving the planet. That's who Ava Collins is, not the barren woman you dismissed, Ethan, but a queen who turned pain into power." Eleanor Caldwell, Ethan's mother, stepped forward, her elegant frame trembling with emotion. At 65, her silver hair gleamed under the sun, her eyes brimming with tears as she studied the quadruplets. "Ava, are these truly my grandchildren?" she asked, her voice breaking. Ava's composure softened, her love for Eleanor, who'd always treated her like family, shining through. "Yes, Eleanor. Meet Lily, Emma, Noah, and Finn, your grandchildren." The children, trained in Ava's impeccable manners, chorused, "Hello, Grandmother Eleanor," their voices a sweet melody that silenced the crowd. Eleanor knelt, tears streaming down her face, and gathered them into her arms. "My beautiful ones," she whispered, "I've missed so much." Sophia's desperation erupted. "This is a setup," she screamed, her veil slipping further, her makeup streaking like war paint. "She's manipulating everyone. Those children can't be his." But the guests weren't listening. Their eyes were on Ava, her radiant black beauty a stark contrast to Sophia's unraveling. The photographers, hired for Sophia's wedding of the century, now focused on Ava and her children, their lenses capturing a truth more compelling than any stage romance. The quadruplets stood unwavering, Lily's serious gaze, Emma's dreamy smile, Noah's quiet focus, and Finn's bold stance, a living testament to Ava's strength. Dr. Helen Price, Ethan's longtime physician and a guest at the wedding, approached, her professional demeanor cutting through the chaos. "Ethan, I can verify the DNA if needed," she said, studying the children. "The resemblance is undeniable. Those blue eyes, your jawline, they're yours." Ethan's knees buckled, and he sank onto the altar steps, his world collapsing under the weight of his mistakes. "I didn't know," he repeated, his voice a broken whisper, but Ava's gaze was unflinching. "You didn't want to know," she said. "You chose Sophia, who stood by me through every doctor's visit, pretending to care while plotting to take my place." The officiant, visibly shaken, tried to regain control. "We should postpone the ceremony," he began, but Sophia's scream cut him off. "No! This is my day. She can't take it from me. She turned to Ethan, her voice pleading and furious. Tell her to leave, Ethan. Call security. This is harassment. But Ethan wasn't looking at Sophia. His eyes were fixed on his children, their faces a mirror of his own, a legacy he'd never known existed. They have my eyes, he murmured, a flicker of wonder breaking through his shock. And my strength, Ava added, her voice softening but resolute. They've never needed you, Ethan, but they deserve to know you, if you can be the father they deserve. The crowd was silent, the weight of Ava's words settling over them like a verdict. The golden helicopter gleamed behind her, a symbol of her ascent from the ashes of betrayal. Sophia's dream wedding lay in ruins, her social media moment stolen by a woman who'd turned pain into power. Ava stood tall, her children by her side, their hands linked, their trust in her unshakable. This wasn't revenge, it was revelation, a truth that shattered Ethan's world and set Ava's free. If this story grips your soul, hit that subscribe button, share where you're watching from, and tell us what time it is there. Ava's journey is far from over, and you won't want to miss the next chapter of this epic tale. The golden glow of the Santa Barbara sunset had faded, but the weight of Ava Collins' arrival lingered like a storm cloud over Ethan Caldwell's heart. The Casa del Mar resort, once alive with the promise of his wedding to Sophia Bennett, now stood as a silent witness to his unraveling. Ethan sat alone in the groom's suite, the platinum cufflinks he'd fidgeted with all morning discarded on the table, his tailored suit feeling like a costume for a role he no longer understood. The image of Ava, radiant, unyielding, her ebony skin glowing in that red gown, haunted him. More than that, the faces of his four quadruplets, Lily, Emma, Noah, and Finn, their blue eyes mirroring his own, burned into his soul. He'd called Ava barren, thrown her out for Sophia's fleeting allure, and now the truth of his children's existence exposed the depth of his folly. Ethan's hands trembled as he stared at the DNA test Ava had left behind, its stark numbers, 99.9% paternity, mocking his denial. 5 years ago, he'd been a man chasing youth and validation, blind to the woman who'd loved him through her own silent pain of infertility. Now, at 35, he saw the cost of his selfishness. Sophia's shriek still echoed in his mind, her desperate accusations at the altar drowned out by the quiet strength of Ava's truth. He'd lost everything, not just the wedding, but the family he'd never known he had. Yet as the ocean waves crashed outside, a flicker of resolve ignited within him. He wasn't ready to lose them again. The next morning, Ethan drove to Ava's Malibu estate, his Bentley navigating the winding coastal roads with a purpose he hadn't felt in years. The mansion loomed ahead, its glass and steel facade a testament to Ava's triumph. He parked, his heart pounding, and approached the gate, only to be met by Ryan Mitchell's steely gaze through the intercom. "What do you want, Ethan?" Ryan's voice was cold, protective. The man who'd helped Ava build Collins Couture stood as a guardian, his loyalty to her and her children unmistakable. "I need to see Ava," Ethan said, his voice raw. "I need to apologize. For everything." Ava appeared at the door, her beauty as striking as it had been at the wedding, though now softened by a simple linen dress. Her dark curls framed her face, but her eyes held no warmth, only wariness. "You don't get to just show up," she said, crossing her arms. "My children don't need a father who only cares when it's convenient." Ethan swallowed, the weight of her words heavier than any accusation. "I was wrong, Ava. I was cruel, selfish, and blind. I didn't know about the kids, but that's no excuse. I want to make this right. For them, not for me." Ava's expression didn't soften, but a small voice interrupted. "Mommy, who's that?" Lily, the eldest quadruplet, peeked out from behind her, her blue eyes curious but guarded. Emma, Noah, and Finn followed, their matching white outfits a stark reminder of the family Ethan had discarded. Ava knelt, gathering them close. "This is someone we're talking to," she said carefully, her protective instincts flaring. But Lily, ever perceptive, tilted her head. "Is he our daddy?" The question pierced Ethan's chest, a mix of hope and shame flooding him. Ava hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, sweetheart, but we're just talking for now." Reluctantly, Ava allowed Ethan a brief meeting in the garden, under her watchful eye. The quadruplets sat on a blanket, their toys scattered around them, as Ethan knelt to their level. I'm, I'm your dad, he said, his voice cracking. I'm so sorry I haven't been here. Lily studied him, her serious gaze unnervingly like his own. Why didn't you come sooner? She asked. Ethan faltered, his throat tight. I made a big mistake. I wasn't ready to be a dad, but I want to be now. Emma, the dreamer, offered a shy smile, while Noah and Finn exchanged glances, unsure but curious. Ava arranged a supervised picnic the following week at a nearby park, a tentative step toward letting Ethan into their lives. James Harper, the silver-haired mentor who'd saved Ava from despair, joined them, his presence a quiet warning to Ethan. The children played on swings, their laughter a melody that both warmed and wounded Ethan's heart. He pushed Finn on a swing, marveling at the boy's fearless grin, and helped Emma pick wildflowers, her tiny hands trusting in a way he didn't deserve. For a moment it felt like a family, until his phone rang. Sophia's name flashed on the screen, and before Ethan could silence it, her voice blared through the speaker. Ethan, this is ridiculous. Those kids aren't yours. They're just Ava's scheme to trap you. The children froze, Lily's eyes widening with hurt, Noah's face clouding with confusion. Ava's expression turned to ice. Turn it off, she said, her voice low but lethal. Ethan fumbled, disconnecting the call, but the damage was done. Mommy, why did that lady say we're not daddies? Emma asked, her voice trembling. Finn clutched Noah's hand, their blue eyes searching for answers. Ava knelt, pulling her children close. That woman is wrong, she said, her tone fierce yet gentle. You are your daddy's children, and you are perfect. She stood, turning to Ethan, her anger a controlled blaze. You brought her poison into their lives. You're not ready for this. Ethan's heart sank, desperation clawing at him. Ava, I didn't mean. Sophia's nothing to me now. I'll block her, I swear. But Ava shook her head, her voice cutting. Words aren't enough, Ethan. You failed them today. As Ava led the children away, Ethan stood rooted, the park's joy fading into silence. Lily glanced back, her serious eyes holding a question he couldn't answer. He'd come seeking redemption, but Sophia's call had exposed his lingering failure to sever ties with the past. Ava's words echoed. His children deserved a father who protected them, not one who let pain seep into their world. Ethan drove back to his empty Southampton mansion, the weight of his mistake heavier than ever. He deleted Sophia's contact, his fingers shaking, but the act felt hollow. The quadruplets' faces, Lily's quiet strength, Emma's gentle trust, Noah's thoughtful gaze, Finn's bold spirit, haunted him. He'd lost Ava once to his cruelty. He couldn't lose his children too. That night, Ethan sat at his desk, staring at a photo from the picnic, the children's laughter frozen in time. He opened his laptop and began typing a letter to each, Lily, Emma, Noah, Finn, promising to be better, to show up, to earn their trust. It was a small step, but it was all he had. The road to redemption would be long, and he wasn't sure he deserved it. But for those blue eyes that mirrored his own, he would try. If this story tugs at your heart, hit that subscribe button, share where you're watching from, and tell us what time it is there. Ethan's journey to become a father is just beginning, and you won't want to miss what comes next. The Malibu breeze carried the scent of salt and jasmine. But for Ethan Caldwell, it was the weight of his own failures that lingered heaviest. 10 months had passed since the disastrous picnic where Sophia Bennett's venomous words had pierced the hearts of his quadruplets, Lily, Emma, Noah, and Finn, leaving Ava Collins to shield them from the pain he'd failed to prevent. That day, Ava's icy rebuke had cut deeper than any accusation. You're not ready for this. Ethan, once a billionaire who discarded Ava as barren, now stood at a crossroads, determined to prove he could be the father his children deserved. His Southampton mansion, once a shrine to his shallow victories, felt hollow, its marble halls echoing with the absence of the family he'd only just discovered. But Ethan wasn't giving up. Not on Lily's serious gaze, Emma's gentle smile, Noah's quiet focus, or Finn's fearless spirit. He began with letters, one for each child, sent weekly without fail. Every Sunday, Ethan sat at his desk, pouring his heart onto paper. To Lily, he wrote of his childhood dreams of exploration, hoping to connect with her thoughtful nature. For Emma, he shared stories of art and beauty, mirroring her dreamy creativity. Noah received tales of problem-solving, resonating with his analytical mind, while Finn got adventure stories, fueling his bold imagination. "I'm learning to be your dad," he wrote in each, "and I'll keep showing up no matter what." The letters were his lifeline, a way to reach his children across the chasm of his past mistakes, even if Ava wasn't ready to let him back into their lives. Ethan also took decisive action against Sophia. He blocked her number, deleted every trace of her from his life, and secured a restraining order when her relentless calls persisted. Her betrayal, posing as Ava's confidant while stealing her fiancé, had cost him 5 years with his children, and he refused to let her poison their future. He informed mutual friends that any contact with Sophia would sever ties with him, drawing a line in the sand. It was a start, but trust, he learned, wasn't rebuilt with grand gestures alone. It required consistency, humility, and sacrifice. Ava, wary but fair, allowed Ethan supervised visits, always under the watchful eyes of Ryan Mitchell or James Harper. Ethan attended every event he could: Lily's preschool art show, where her painting of a starry sky won first place; Emma's dance recital, her twirls tentative but radiant; Noah's science fair, where his model volcano erupted to cheers; Finn's soccer game, where he scored a goal and grinned at Ethan from the field. Ethan sat in the back, never pushing for more than Ava permitted, his presence a quiet promise. The children noticed, their blue eyes, his eyes, softening with curiosity over time. "Why do you always come, Daddy?" Finn asked once, kicking a ball. "Because you're my son," Ethan replied simply, "and I want to know you." The turning point came on a crisp spring morning at Griffith Park, where Ava had agreed to a family outing. The quadruplets scampered ahead, their laughter echoing as they raced toward the playground. Ava walked beside Ryan, her engagement ring glinting. A recent development that had stirred a pang of jealousy in Ethan, quickly replaced by respect for the man who'd been there when he wasn't. James, ever the sage, trailed behind, his silver hair catching the sunlight. Ethan carried a picnic basket, his heart pounding with the weight of opportunity. He'd spent months proving his commitment, but today felt like a test he couldn't fail. Finn, ever the daredevil, eyed the tall slide with apprehension, his usual bravado faltering. "It's too high," he mumbled, scuffing his sneakers in the dirt. Ethan knelt beside him, his voice gentle. "You don't have to climb it, Finn, but I'll be right here if you try." Finn hesitated, then grabbed Ethan's hand, his small fingers trusting. Together they climbed the ladder, Ethan's steady presence calming Finn's nerves. At the top, Finn froze, but Ethan's encouraging nod gave him courage. "You've got this," he said. Finn slid down, whooping with joy, and ran back to Ethan, throwing his arms around him. "You didn't let me fall," he beamed. Ava watched from a distance, her expression unreadable, but softer than before. Lily, ever observant, tugged her mother's sleeve. "Daddy helped Finn," she said, her serious tone carrying weight. Emma and Noah nodded, their sketches and toy cars forgotten as they watched Ethan with new eyes. Ryan, standing beside Ava, gave a slight smile. "He's trying," he said quietly. Ava's nod was subtle, but it was enough, a crack in the wall she'd built to protect her children. That evening, Ava invited Ethan to the quadruplets' 5th birthday party, a milestone he'd never thought he'd witness. "One chance," she said, her voice firm. "Don't let them down." Ethan's heart soared, but he tempered his hope with resolve. He spent days researching gifts, calling James for advice on what the children loved. The picnic had shown him their personalities: Lily's love for stories, Emma's passion for art, Noah's curiosity for building, Finn's thirst for adventure. He wanted to prove he was listening, that he was learning to be their father. As Ethan drove to Ava's Malibu estate, his Bentley filled with carefully wrapped presents, he felt a clarity he'd never known. The man who'd once chased fleeting pleasures with Sophia was gone, replaced by someone who understood the cost of his choices. Ava's strength, her rise from homelessness to a billion-dollar fashion empire, humbled him. She'd built Collins Couture, while raising 4 children alone, defying the barren label he'd cruelly pinned on her. Now he wanted only to be worthy of the family he'd nearly lost. The quadruplets greeted him at the gate, their excitement cautious but genuine. "Did you bring presents, Daddy?" Finn asked, bouncing on his toes. Ethan smiled, his heart full. "I did, but they're for after cake." Lily studied him, her blue eyes searching. "You came," she said, as if testing his promise. "I'll always come," Ethan replied, meeting her gaze. Ava watched from the doorway, her radiant beauty a quiet force, her engagement to Ryan a reminder of the life she'd built without him. Yet she'd opened this door, and Ethan would walk through it, step by careful step. If this story pulls you in, hit that subscribe button, share where you're watching from, and tell us what time it is there. Ethan's journey to earn his children's trust is reaching a pivotal moment, and you won't want to miss what unfolds next. The Malibu sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the sky in hues of coral and gold as Ava Collins stood in her sprawling backyard, arranging 5 individual birthday cakes on a linen-draped table. Each cake was a masterpiece from her own hands, tailored to her quadruplets' unique spirits. A starry galaxy for Lily's thoughtful soul, a canvas of edible paints for Emma's dreamy artistry, a towering model city for Noah's meticulous mind, and a rocket ship for Finn's boundless adventure. Today marked the 5th birthday of her children, Lily, Emma, Noah, and Finn, and the air buzzed with their laughter, a melody that had carried Ava through years of hardship. The radiant black woman, now 28, her ebony skin glowing in a flowing white dress, felt a quiet peace. 5 years after Ethan Caldwell branded her barren and betrayed her with Sophia Bennett, Ava stood as the billionaire founder of Collins Couture, a mother who'd turned pain into triumph. The past 10 months had been a crucible for Ethan. After the disastrous picnic where Sophia's cruel words wounded the children, Ava had shut him out, her trust shattered. But Ethan, once a shallow billionaire chasing fleeting pleasures, had changed. He'd written weekly letters to each child, filled with stories and promises, and attended their milestones. Art shows, recitals, science fairs, sitting quietly in the back, earning their trust through presence, not demands. He'd severed all ties with Sophia, securing a restraining order to protect his family. Now, as he pulled into Ava's estate in his Bentley, his heart raced with hope and trepidation. Beside him sat Ryan Mitchell, Ava's fiancé and business partner, a man whose steady love for the quadruplets had redefined fatherhood for Ethan. "Daddy's here!" Finn shouted, spotting the car from the garden, his blue eyes, Ethan's eyes, sparkling with excitement. The quadruplets rushed to the gate, their white Collins Couture outfits fluttering like sails. Lily, the serious leader, held Emma's hand, while Noah and Finn raced ahead, their energy infectious. Ava watched from the patio, her dark curls catching the breeze, her engagement ring glinting as a reminder of the life she'd built with Ryan. Ethan stepped out, arms laden with gifts, his once impeccable suits replaced by jeans and a blue shirt that made him approachable, human. Ryan followed, his easy smile a quiet reassurance. "Ready for this?" Ryan asked, clapping Ethan's shoulder. Ethan nodded, his voice thick. More than anything, the children swarmed Ethan, their cautious curiosity now replaced with genuine warmth. "Did you bring presents?" Noah asked, his analytical gaze scanning the wrapped boxes. Ethan knelt, meeting their blue eyes. "After cake," he said, grinning. "But they're special, just for you." Lily tilted her head, her serious expression softening. "You came again," she said, a statement heavy with trust earned. "I'll always come," Ethan replied, his voice steady, a vow he'd kept for months. The birthday party unfolded in a whirlwind of joy. The children tore into their cakes, Lily marveling at her galaxy's edible stars, Emma painting her fingers with frosting, Noah studying his city's details, and Finn launching his rocket cake into imaginary orbit. Ethan's gifts were perfect. A storybook of constellations for Lily, a watercolor set for Emma, a model building kit for Noah, and a toy spaceship for Finn. "How did you know?" Emma gasped, clutching her paints. Ethan smiled, his heart full. I listened when you talked about what you love. That's what dads do. As the children played, Ava gathered Ethan and Ryan on the patio, the ocean's rhythm a soothing backdrop. We have news, Ryan said, his hand finding Ava's. I've asked Ava to marry me, and she said yes. His voice was warm, but his eyes held a question for Ethan, testing his reaction. Ethan's chest tightened, not with jealousy, but with gratitude. You deserve this, he said to Ava, his voice earnest. You deserve a man who sees your strength, who loves these kids like I should have from the start. Ava's eyes softened, the first unguarded moment between them in years. Thank you, Ethan, she said, but this family includes you now, if you keep showing up. The children, sensing a shift, ran to the table. Is Uncle Ryan going to be our stepdad? Finn asked, his rocket clutch tight. Ava nodded, pulling them close. Yes, sweetheart, but Daddy's still your daddy. Lily, ever perceptive, looked at Ethan. Will you live with us? Ethan exchanged a glance with Ava, then knelt. I'm moving closer, to a house in Malibu. I'll be here whenever you need me. The children's faces lit up, Noah's quiet nod and Emma's shy smile sealing the moment. Ethan revealed his final surprise, architectural plans for a mini design studio in Ava's backyard, tailored for each child, a sewing nook for Lily, an art corner for Emma, a model workshop for Noah, and an adventure-themed space for Finn. Construction starts next week, he said, spreading the plans. It's for you to create and dream. The quadruplets gasped, their excitement bubbling over. The best studio ever, Finn declared, hugging Ethan's leg. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the beach, Ava, Ryan, Ethan, and the children built a sandcastle, its turrets rising like a symbol of their blended family. Ethan watched Ava, her radiant beauty a testament to her resilience, and Ryan, whose love had anchored her. I'm sorry, Ethan said quietly to Ryan, for hurting them. Thank you for being what I wasn't. Ryan nodded. You're here now. That's what matters. The quadruplets' laughter rang out, their sandcastle a monument to love rebuilt. Ava, watching her children, felt whole. From the ashes of Ethan's betrayal and Sophia's treachery, she'd forged a life of abundance. The helicopter in the driveway gleamed, no longer a symbol of defiance, but of a journey complete. If this story warms your heart, hit that subscribe button, share where you're watching from, and tell us what time it is there. Ava's family is whole, but their story of love and redemption will linger with you. This tale of Ava Collins, a woman who rose from betrayal and heartbreak to build a radiant family and empire, is a testament to resilience and unconditional love. Her journey from being called barren to becoming a billionaire mother of four inspires us to find strength in our darkest moments and to redefine family through choice and devotion. What did Ava's story stir in you? Share your thoughts below. Tell us where you're watching from and what time it is there. We'd love to hear how this touched your heart. Thank you for joining us on this unforgettable journey. Stay tuned for more stories that uplift and inspire. Until next time.